Okay, good morning. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we will talk about the raising responsible kids, of course, which is a very important and very critical as the children grow and they are the future generations. And it depends upon how they are raised and how they will impact the social as well as the economic and the other areas of the future world. Always question what are the rights and what are the responsibilities. In case of children, children's right is they need to be loved, they need to be taken care of, their basic needs to be met, but they also need to understand the responsibilities as per their age. So we will be talking different problems in following that, and also what are the some of the solutions to do that, and also some understanding how the children are thinking at different levels. Teaching a child responsibility can help him grow into a sensible, dependable adult who's always accountable for himself and his action. So this statement is true even for the younger children, even for 1 year, 2 year, 15 year, 18 years. But it depends upon how much responsibility they can carry and how much we make them held responsible for their acts. So this is the question, and that we need to talk about as well. When asked what traits parents would like their children to have now and as adults, one of the most common responses is to be responsible. Being responsible is a key to children's success, both in school and in the larger world when they grow up. So there are many examples of the responsibilities. Actually, the world revolves around the reward, and you can get the reward comparable to the responsibility you take. If I say the rewards are directly proportional to the responsibility, the amount of responsibility, the level of responsibility, the quality of responsibility, it will not be wrong. For example, if somebody is a manager in an organization, they have a more responsibility than a junior level staff, but the reward is higher as well. So the responsibility is directly linked to the reward. And when the parents are saying they want the responsible children, this is not a small, basic, or superficial question. Actually, this is very deep, and they want their children to grow in a way that they are responsible, take the responsibility, and they can make a progress in their personal, professional, and educational life. And nothing can guarantee more than the character building, the behavior, the good behavior in the children, and raising them in the right way. That's the only guarantee. The money, the education, the other things, probably they are less, they cannot guarantee unless the children have a good character build up, behavioral models, and taking the responsibility. So there is sometimes there is a confusion between obedience versus responsibilities. We need to address this one and need to be clear in mind. So there are few differences and similarities which I put it together. Most parents would love their children to do what the parents ask. So as I can say, I have noticed this being a psychiatrist and being a child psychiatrist. I have noticed that this is more so in the Eastern world. I'm not saying everybody's like this, but if you ask parents, probably the greater percentage of the parents in the Eastern world, they probably will say, oh, we want our child to be obedient. No matter what we say, they should follow. They should not question or they should not do anything. While in the West, this is a little bit different. In the West, they want the child to be correct, right, and not lie or I'm not saying Eastern parents would say the child should lie, but out of respect, they should not say certain things in front of the parents. But in the West, if there is something, they are raised like they will point it out. It's not a criticism, but if they see something wrong or something not right, they will point it out and right away tell at the face of the parent. So the obedience is also individualized. In each family, it's different. And even in one bigger family, the nuclear family will have a different meaning to the obedience and the different set of expectations from the children being obedient. Responsibility over time, most parents want children to accept ownership for a task or chore is given to them in obedience to follow directions only. Okay. In responsibility, the children do it because it needs to be done and accept that it is their obligation to do it. So there is a difference. The follow direction, like just to appease the parents, and the quality of work and everything will be different when the children do it as a obligation or do it as a responsibility. There will be a difference in the quality and difference in motivation when the children are doing. And to not question their authority in obedience, as I said earlier, a little bit. It's not 100% true, but to some extent. Over time, they may even initiate doing a task because it needs to be done, not because they are being told to do so. So, in taking a responsibility, the kids develop more independence, they develop more learning, they develop more positive behavior in which they learn these are the things need to be done. Initially, maybe they are told to do so, but later on, because of the responsibility, even if the parents forget, even if the parents are not around, they will take the responsibility and do it. While in the obedience model, it might be not that strong. How involved parents should be in helping your children to meet their commitments and complete tasks. Okay, in obedience, parents may have to give up having things done exactly as they would like them to be done and on their exact timetable in order for a child to move from obedience to responsibility. Okay, allowing in responsibility, allowing a child to do it his way, which is acceptable, of course, and will encourage a feeling of pride in an accomplishment and foster a sense of responsibility if the child is doing on their own way. Of course, if they need some guidance, if they need some training, or if they need some help, that will be provided by the caretaker and grown-ups. Not wanting our children to fail can lead parents to do too much for their children. When this happens, the children don't learn to take on the responsibility themselves. So, by helping them too much, it might create a sense of dependence. It might create a little bit dependence, just like a very common example we'll give. Would you like to give a fish to the hungry man, or would you like to teach him how to catch the fish to a hungry man? This is a famous story. We give an example. So in responsibility, we be involved when children do need guidance, support, or information so that they can learn how to be responsible. So responsibility should not be mistaken as just give them the task and move away and let them learn their own way or search on their way. Of course, this will not be as efficient if you guide them, support them, and provide them the necessary information as much as they need, so that they feel comfortable, they feel proud of doing things, and they will be more successful. Creating a home environment that promotes responsibility is very, very important. Modeling. Model the behavior you want to see in your children. So children learns much more through the behaviors rather than from the words. So make sure you do what you want your children to learn, and they are the mini cameras walking around. Make sure that whatever you are doing is being picked up by them, so they will learn whatever you are doing. Share your own experiences about school and responsibility in moderation. This is okay to share your story, and this is another way to teach them, guide them, or help them create the model, the role model. Teach and show your child how to be organized and how to manage time. The children's in the beginning, they are learning the skills. They will learn their skills on their own way, but if under parents guidance and parents supervision, they can do it better. Create a structure and schedules for homework, chores, morning and evening routines that take into account your child's temperament, learning style, and biological clock. So this is very, very important, not to impose the structure or not to impose the program on the children if it doesn't match with their temperament, their learning style, or their biological clock. So work with them and to find the way which is acceptable and which is more in line with their thinkings and their learning style. A successful morning begins the night before. How come? If they sleep at night, late at night, if they were up at night, or they wake up late, or there was some unresolved issues last night before. So all those things can interfere with the next coming day. Creating a home environment that promotes responsibility. Use conversation starters at meal times, car rides, or while doing chores together to connect to your children and then listen without judgment or criticism. These are the good times when you can have a free talk, or you can just start the conversation and then ask the open-ended question and leave it as such, and let them have a free talk or free association. The children will tell you what is important for them and pay attention to that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how was your day? What made it that way? This is a very simple and a simple question, and this will bring a lot of information. Like, how was your day? This will open up a whole conversation, and why it was like that. So it will give you the whole history of the day, the daily activity, goods, bads, or anything which is important for the child. What was the best or worst part of your day? Good point. What do you like, what do you don't like, and why it is so? What did you do today to help someone else? Even the child didn't do anything, or if there's nothing like that, excuse me, just asking this question bring the importance of this into child's mind. What is the favorite thing you learned today? So in this way you will know their likes and dislikes, and their activities and the way of thinking. What thoughts or feeling you had today? What happened today that you didn't expect, like surprises and certain things. What's something you have done recently that you are proud of? So in this way you will know which direction the kids are doing and what are the things they feel proud of. What's on your mind these days? It's an open-ended question, and they can share with you. What are you looking forward to these days? This is a question for the little bit older kids. So this is usually for the teenagers. As we are talking in general for the children, I mean, if there are specific questions, we can do that. But so this is for the little bit more developed children, like the early adolescents, and so on and so forth. Okay. Encourage your children to find a place where they can and want to give their all, like classes, sports, clubs, musics, arts, volunteer activities, so they can experience that success is more about persistence and less about talent. And they can experience the satisfaction that comes from taking responsibility. So basically, help them open up or help them show their qualities, characteristics, and their strengths during these venues. Try not to worry too much. As we said in the previous lecture sessions, worrying is contagious. If the parents worry too much, it will go to the child as well, and it can infect them. Actually, they start worrying as well, unknowingly, feeling that why their parents are worried. If we do the worrying, it leaves less responsibility and ownership for the child. Be aware of the trip words. What are those? These are phrases people use to deny responsibility for their behavior. Do not let your children get away with using them. Here are some examples of trip words and how you can respond. For example, if say, I forgot something, child say, forgot something. What not to say is, you can say, what not to say is, for example, many of the time parents says, well, okay, but don't let it happen again. So this is a kind of a way to create in them guilt feeling, and then maybe some responsibility, but it create more stress on the child, and maybe it will lead them to feeling guilty and feeling insufficient something. So what is more appropriate is, I'm sorry you forgot, because we all can do, and it's okay. Now, if you forgot, what you have to do to remedy it? Call someone to find out what your assignment is, if this is about the assignment. So in this way, you empathize with the child that what he's going through, because when the child already say I forgot, he's already feeling guilty or already feeling shameful or something, and now you are empathizing with them, so they don't feel alone, they feel there is some support available, and then you suggest them how you can remedy it, you know so in this way they will learn the responsibility. But instead, if you say, okay, I'm sorry you forgot, let me call your teacher, let me call, and I'll get it for you. So this is not as healthy, because it can create some kind of dependence. The child will have the idea that in future something happen, he will come to you. Instead of saying I forgot, he will say, oh, can you call my teacher and get the homework or assignment? So the healthy thing is to empathize and help them, encourage them to take the responsibility and do the next step. So next, it was not my fault, the teacher didn't tell us it was going to be on the test. So the student missed some items in the test, and they are trying to justify it and trying to feel they are not responsible. So the parents respond, how could you have known to study that? That's not the right way. I think the most appropriate way to tell is, it is your responsibility to know all of the material covered, even if the teacher didn't tell you. You need to take the responsibility. It would be on the test, and you need to learn. How you can learn? You need to find different ways to find out what are the possible questions, or it could be in the test. Okay, I didn't mean to hurt her feeling. I was just talking to Jen about what happened over the weekends. Just an example, the normal conversation between the children. So I know that's okay. No, that's not okay if you hurt someone. So the parents' good response is, you need to find a way to help her feel better, to let her know you're sorry. It is never okay to hurt someone's feeling, because this is again taking the responsibility. Okay. So steps on how to raise responsible children: start young, early age. We cannot say all of a sudden, like teenagers or the older children are 9-10 years of age, and we say, okay, until 9, 8, 9 year, 10 year is fine, and after that we will start teaching them, and we'll start helping them learn the behavior. It's much better to start early, because the children learn as young as 1 year. I mean, younger than that, even infants. I give the example of the children's are moving audio and video recorders. They record everything. And there is the one simple principle: the children treat the world the way they were treated. So it is a very vast term, but this is very true. And there are numerous studies which replicate this. So start young. Young children can help us set the dinner table or put their toys in the toy box. So this you can start with even 1 year, 1.5, 2 years children when they are playing, and help learn them to clean up after their task, after their play, when the play finishes. Show children how tasks should be done. Be clear with your expectations. So clear message are much more helpful. The ambiguous message make children confused. Conflicting message make them confused. So it's very important to give the clear message. Kids are imitators, and they do much better when they are shown how to do something. Let's use those imitation skills to our advantage. Let kids show someone else how a task should be done. Nothing reinforces a skill like teaching it to another person. Imitation, imitation, imitation. Be trustworthy and dependable. This is very important, to be consistent and be available all the time. Children watch us like junior reporters, as I said, monitoring our every move. If they see us being responsible, trustworthy, and dependable on a regular basis, they are more likely to conclude being responsible is just a given, or it's just a way to spend life. Apologize when you make a mistake. Kids already know we make mistakes, so we might as well admit them when we do. If we own up to our mistakes without blaming someone or something else, We show our children there is no shame in being wrong or falling short, especially when we accept responsibility for it. Give children a role or responsibility within the family. It's important to give them a task that really matters and let them know exactly why it matters. Information sharing, the consequences, good or bad, we should share with the children and tell them. And even then, if they do the mistake, then just let them accept the responsibility. In this one example, if you have a dog, walking the dog is important for both the family and the dog. Both sides are thankful, those kind of things. Expect them to make a mistake. It is so easy to forget, especially with older children and teens, that even though the body looks like an adult on the outside, the inside still has an incomplete operating system. So I usually say in the adolescence there is not a small but relatively immature brain in a big body. Like there's a lot of energy at the disposal of the adolescents when they don't have a much mature brain functioning to handle it. That's why sometimes the lethal accidents are highest during the adolescent life, because of the poor judgment, because of the overestimation, because of the feeling of invincibility. So their brains are not yet fully developed as their physical growth is. Avoid nagging, yelling, and criticizing. Too much criticizing or too much interrupting the children when they are doing things and not letting them do things is actually very negativistic. It have a negative effect on the children. And if it is too much, it might lead to the children learn that they should not take initiative. They stop taking initiative, and also they may develop low self-esteem, or they start feeling incompetent about themselves. As hard as it might be, we have much less conflict when we avoid nagging, yelling, criticizing, or other emotional displays when we are teaching or correcting. Work together as a family. Our children are not here to do the chores we don't want to do ourselves. This is another thing. Do not use them as a mini servants. Do not use them as a extra help for you. Always respect them, and the goal should be to empathize with them and to help them make responsible only, not to take advantage of that. Everyone in the family can take a turn doing the yoki chores such as cleaning or whatever. Provide friendly reminders to your children. Remind our children that everybody has to do things they don't like at one time or another. Washing clothing is not your hobby. You do it because it needs to be done, and so should they. So there should be a difference between forcing them to do certain chores which don't like to do, or maybe this is okay to help them do certain chores which they may not even like it, but it's okay for them to learn about it as well, because sometimes they have to do the chores as a necessity, as a need, even though they don't like it. Talking with our children about what it means to be responsible and opportunities it affords is the first step to raising responsible children. So teaching them helps because the children are a little bit more concrete. It is difficult for them to read in between lines or sometimes even the gestures. So they need the clear and concrete words and the meanings, what we want to convey to them. People who are responsible have better reputations, more educational options, and are trusted with tasks that we all know that it is directly proportional to the success they can have in their life. Parents need to be teacher. Parents are teacher, but in a way, we need to have this in mind that too, when a child does not have motivation ability, he needs the parent to be a teacher who can help with the task, guiding them, be a master, mentor. He needs moral support, demonstration, and his parents' presence to encourage and guide him or her. For example, a child who is supposed to clean up her bedroom or his bedroom each week needs constant help to avoid being distracted. He or she doesn't have the skills to keep himself herself on track and not get distracted, because they are not used to it. For example, also complains about having to do this task since 2 years of old sister does not have to clean up. She's not motivated to do this task. This is a possible, but we need to explain to them at a different age, different responsibilities, different tasks, and it's okay to do the tasks. So parents also need to be a coach, as I already said. When a child has ability or motivation, but not both, he needs his parent to act as a coach to provide reminders and supervision. But he needs less involvement from his parents than when he is neither motivated nor able. For example, Sarah has volunteered to do her own laundry, but she needs her mother to tell her how to do it. Sarah is motivated but needs her pointer from her mother on how to do the job. So helping the children at the time of need is very, very important. And this is very important when the child is asking for help. If there is possible at all, do it right away rather than postponing it or telling them, okay, we will do it some other time. No, I'm very, very busy. I cannot do that. If this is really impossible to do that, then empathize with them. Sorry, honey, I would like to do it right now with you, but I have to finish this one, then I'll help you and we'll do it together. Just not to ignore them. Parents need to be delegators. Don't do it for them. Some of the parents, they feel or take pride in doing the children's work, and they think that they are helping the child. In fact, they are not. Because when you do the things on behalf of the child does not take the responsibility, they do not learn, and it becomes difficult for them in future to develop the behavior in which they will do the task by themselves. When a child has both motivation and ability, he has reached maturity related to that particular task. In this case, the parent is a delegator. The child does the activity independently. For example, a teenage question. So these are some of the references and the helpful websites. Please get use of these. And now we can open for the questions. Any questions, please? From the audience, I think the organizer has the access to the website, the WhatsApp group. I'm looking at the WhatsApp group, and if there's any question, please go ahead. Any questions? I have questions from the previous webinar, so I will try to. Yeah, there is a question. If there is no question, you question, I will take this question from the previous webinar. What is timeout, and up to what age timeout can be given to children? How to control parents' frustration, and how to develop this in my child to take interest in classroom learning? All these questions are very heavy, and I think it takes a full talk on each of them, but I will try to justify this in a brief period of time. What is timeout? Timeout is basically consequences for certain behavior, and it is done as the age appropriate manner. So in the timeout is leaving the child in a corner, not paying attention to him, and let him or her stay on their own for a brief period of time, just to help them learn the behavior was unacceptable, what they just did. And what are those behaviors. For example, if the child is not giving you the iPad, or they do not do their homeworks, or they break things and they are not stopping to break things. So there are other behaviors, day-to-day activities. So this is the timeout is basically consequences for the bad behavior or not good behavior. And the general formula up to what age timeout can be given to children, it depends upon the development, the child development. Usually 5, 6, 7, or even 8-year-old children, they can have a timeout. And the timeout is usually the age of the child in minutes. They should be asked to stay in the corner or sit on the chair or don't do any activity and just focus and ponder on that. The younger children, sometimes they cannot take too much and they don't stand there and they just walk behind you when you take them over there. It's okay to take them to the timeout spot and hold their hand and stay there for a few minutes and let them do that. The children usually becomes more unhappy, or they don't want to do the timeout. This is okay if 4 or 5-year-old child and they cannot tolerate 4 minutes or 5 minutes. It's not advisable to fight with them. Even if they do 2 or 3 minutes, this is okay, and help them learn. This is not a punishment. The timeout is basically telling them there is a consequence for the behavior in a softer, politer way, and hoping not to affect their development and their the feeling should not hurt their feelings, but at least help them learn the behavior which is not acceptable. The third question from the last time is how to control parents' frustration, unless there is any question for today. Questions are posted on webinar or parents group. So let me see if I can have the access to that. I don't know, stop the share. Okay, I will stop the share now. And let me see. Can you send me on the WhatsApp, please? Because I cannot see on the WhatsApp, because I cannot see on WhatsApp group. Okay, I think the questions from today is okay. Until I'm waiting to come on the WhatsApp group, these questions I will answer. So the new question is, okay, let me finish what I was talking and I'll take this question after. This is from today's talk. So the question, answering the frustration, parents' frustration, how to help with the parents' frustration is a very difficult question. And this is actually comes from the parents' own learning, training, and their own early life, their educational level, and their psychosocial behaviors early in life, and now they are becoming parent and how they can modify. So everybody has a different frustration tolerance level. So being a parent, it can be challenging and it can be stressful. So I would suggest being a patient. When you are a parent, you cannot be wrong. So whenever you have a doubt, you please be patient with the things and ask expert advice. With the children, losing temper is no way helpful. It's never helpful. It can fire back and it can be difficult. And if you think you are getting more and more frustrated with the behavior and the school is complaining about the behavior and you are feeling it's not right, then I think this is the time to seek professional help. But the parents' frustration can be difficult to manage when the child is having some difficulties and problems. So it can affect the whole family. Even the one child who is having a behavioral problem can affect the parents, the siblings, and so that is the time when you need to seek professional help. So let's get back to the question of today's webinar. The question is, at what age should we start? I think we try to say start teaching our children to be responsible. As I said in my talks, in the beginning, maybe 1 year, 1.5, 2 years child, you can start helping them learn the responsibility. When they are playing with the toys, we'll tell them to clean up. after finishing the games. Also, putting the things or the dirty things like the tissue papers or something, putting in the bin, not throwing it everywhere. Coming from the school, not throwing clothes everywhere or shoes or anything. So it starts very early and goes on and on. Next question is some children, even when they are given a responsibility, they show no interest, only do it because they are asked. How do you tackle this behavior? This can be a common problem, but I think we need to be persistent. We need to educate them, and we need to make it their habit. Sometimes the children in the beginning they don't understand, but when they do it routinely and with then do it consistently, they learn this behavior, and this become their part of personality and life. Then it becomes okay. So we can always tell them, when you do your chores or your own things, it is neat, it is nice, and it will help you in future life when you are sharing office, when you are sharing house, or when you are sharing some other activities, or taking care of yourself. So these are the few things which can tell them. But even though sometimes children take a long time to before they develop the responsibility, but even following the things and doing the things is helpful for them. What is responsibility for kids? So this is a very wide question. So responsibility is different at the different age and the different circumstances. For example, for a 2 year 3 year old child, the responsibility is to clean up after the toys. For 9 10 year old child, responsibility is to put the shoes in the proper place and the clothing at the proper place, change the school clothes to the home clothes, and in the morning keep the books in order, and prepare yourself the homework and all these things. So it's depending upon the age of the child, the responsibility. Usually the parents know by themselves, or they can also learn from the parent teacher meetings and stuff. And those are different for different children. There is no set rule for the certain age, this is the responsibility for this age. There are some common responsibilities, but usually this is from family to family and from child to child. What if the child is already 9 year old and we want to implement good behavior now? So how to deal with that? I always say there's never too late. So although it would be better that it is done earlier, but now he is a 9 year old, he has learned some behavior, maybe some not good behavior. So it is always difficult to exterminate the old behaviors. So you need to be more consistent and persistent and set up the rewards for the behavior and start help modifying the behaviors into the positive behavior, and help them slowly, gradually. Never yell, criticize, or scream at them. It cannot happen overnight. 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, even if it happens, I think this will be a good luck. What are examples of responsibility? As we said before, examples of responsibilities are different for the different age children, and there are many responsibilities, as I mentioned few before in the previous question. How you find out if my child is not responsible? What points can indicate the irresponsible behavior? For example, I mean, this is a common sense thing. For example, if 4 year 5 year old child is throwing toys all in the room, and the mother or the nanny or the maid is picking up toy all the time, and she is throwing her clothes all over the place, and I think this is expected behavior, that they should be able to know this, that they clean up after they are finished playing and do not throw the tissue papers or something like that. And same thing is with the homework. 5 6 year first grade second grade students, those are the children who should take the responsibility. And if you ask me in detail, there will be a whole long list, and maybe one webinar will not be enough for the age appropriate responsibilities. And as I said before, it is different for the different families, cultural, ethnic, and religious groups. So I would say this is a more common question, but the answer to this is that we need to help them develop the responsibility what we think is appropriate in our understanding. Next question. I have a question. My son is 10 year and is very sensitive. He will start crying. Um, if the 10-year-old is crying for minor things and crying more than once a day, like 2 3 4 times, or any time you tell him something, this is not something normal. I would say we need to explore a little bit more what's going on. Is he feeling sad? If he feeling down, does he seem like not interested in things, or does he feeling maybe depressed? I don't know. Because for 10-year-old crying for minor things is not a good thing. So I would recommend the parents to talk more about it, know more about it. If there is any stress going on, if there is any difficulty, if there is anybody bullying, if there is any abuse going on. So all these questions, crying is not normal. I mean, being sensitive is okay, but crying at age frequently is not okay. It need to be taken care of. Next question: what are the type punishments which can be given to a 9-year-old boy? In my previous lectures, I don't believe in punishments because the punishment does not help, and punishments comes out of anger, and it may be disproportionate to the fault or disproportionate to the wrongdoing. So I think this is a case by case basis. What is the problem? What is the bad behavior? How to correct it? I think rewards, giving the rewards for good behavior and taking the privileges away from the bad behavior is the best way to deal with it. Okay, next question. If he will lose any game, or if I will tell him to do anything or not to watch laptop, as I said, punishment is not a good thing. Always take the privileges away. Like you can say screen time will be decreased, or you can say you will not be allowed to, do certain activities which you like, which is safe, if you don't follow the behavior. So this is a behavior modification plan, which usually the school counselors or the teachers, they can help you guide with the individual child. This is no hard and fast rule for that. Again, the question how to handle a sensitive child: be empathic with them, try to talk to them. As I say, crying, being aggressive, or being naughty, these are the symptoms. Just like somebody has infection is a disease or problem, and the symptom is fever. So we don't treat fever. Yes, we treat fever, but we want to treat the underlying cause. So if the child is sensitive, or if he's recently starts becoming sensitive, we need to know what's going on. If there is any bullying going on, if there is abuse going on, if there is a current stress, if the parents are going through the difficult time, so many things. So this is a very general term. The kids are sensitive. This need to be explored a little bit more. Is overprotective parenting contributing to the irresponsible behavior we see in our children these days? No, let me correct it a little bit. Is overprotective parent contributing to the dependency of the behavior in the children we see? Yes. Overprotecting the children develop the dependency, sense of dependency. Overprotecting means we do not let them do things, we do not let them take the initiatives, and we criticize them, or we ask them to not to do it, and we are doing a lot of chores or activities for them which they are supposed to do themselves. So if we are doing that, the children becomes more and more dependent to the parents. Overprotecting can lead to the irresponsibility in a different way. This will be a further sequelae of being dependent. When they become dependent on you, of course, they will not take the responsibility indirectly. But in general, overprotected children becomes more dependent. Next question, why is it important to teach your child responsibility? I think we have talked in the webinar. If not yet, you can review that again, because I will say it again. Responsible children, it's very important to have the responsible society. And in order to have the responsible society, we need to raise the children responsibly, who take the responsibility, who understands their rights and responsibilities. Next question, how do you deal with an irresponsible child? This is also a very wide question. So it depends upon the age of the child and the level of irresponsibility. So I think the rewards versus the privileges taken away, or the behavior, is the most important thing to do the behavioral modification in the children. Next question, if we have transferred our worries to our child, how can we change their worried about behavior now? This is an interesting question. If we have transferred our worries to our child, how can we change their worried behavior now? This is very, very important. That, as I said, the anxiety is contagious. For example, if the parents are anxious due to stress, due to financial, social, or any other stress, or any other reason, if they are stressed or anxious, their children become anxious. So I'm not saying you hide your anxiety or anything, but at least try to control your anxiety. And if the children come and ask you the question, that mom, you're worried, or father, you are worried, or is there any problem? So empathize with them and don't lie to them. Tell them yes, and don't exaggerate the things. Tell them, oh, there is some issue, some difficulty going on, but we'll be okay. It's okay to share as it is age appropriate with them, but also, give them the hope that it's okay, we can take care of that, and this is not your job to be worried. Because if the children are worried, they don't have the capacity to perform well if they are anxious and nervous. And this is just like putting too much stress on a very little brain, and they can become agitated, they lose patience, and they become aggressive, or they will not know how to handle those intense feelings. Okay, next question. What responsibilities should a 12-year-old have? Again, we are saying this depends upon the parents, depending upon the parents' ideals, what they want. But 12-year-old in general should be able to take the responsibility of studying responsibly, and doing the homework, at least helping the parents at home to the level he can do that or she can do that, and also taking the responsibility to start thinking and behaving appropriately, taking the responsibility of his her action. If they are going out, if they are going with the children, or if they are doing certain things, so they can be, because this is the time when they are stepping into the early adolescent. So this is the time when they should be prepared to enter into the adolescence growth spurt. The body will grow very fast in next few years, but the brain will not. So there will be a mismatch between brain and body growth, and that can lead to misjudgments, miscalculations, and feeling of a false sense of security and all these things. So 12-year-old child's responsibility are in general uh, age appropriately what we said. So they should be able to take responsible action, responsible steps, follow their parents' advice, and follow their parents' recommendations. So that's about it. Um, I think we finished the question. Unless there is any other question, we can stop here. Any more questions or anything? Should we stop here? Okay, we'll wait for a few minutes. If somebody has any questions, and we can talk about it. Okay, please go ahead. Somebody has a question, I think. Yes, we can end. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for for listening and being there. Any comments, and please don't forget to fill the feedback form. Thank you.